Hello, hello, it's me again. And today we are going to be making yet another super pink, super colourful, super flowery house in vanilla Minecraft. This house was super easy and super enjoyable to make. I'd definitely say beginner friendly, but yeah, let's get started. First things first, here are the dimensions. As always, the pink and purple line represents where the wall's going to go, and the yellow dots represent where our framework's going to go. Starting off, we're going to be using some oak logs, and on every single yellow block, we're going to be building up a pillar that goes to 5 blocks in height, except for these two on the front section of the build, which are only going to be 3 blocks in height, and you'll see why that is later. Then on that top 5th block, we're going to build all the way around with that oak log and join all of the pillars together, once again excluding the 2 shorter ones on the front. And here's a little overview of how it should be looking so far. Over onto the walls now, I'm just going ahead with some stripped oak logs, and I'm building all the way along that pink and purple dotted line. And this is completely just a style choice, but on those inward facing corners, I like to instead just use the oak log just from before. And we're going to go all the way around and build the walls up until they are 4 blocks high in total. Then once that's all done, we're going to go ahead and add in some oak wood planks into the walls, as well as replacing any of the stripped oak logs that are facing in a different direction. Because personally, I like them all to face one way, but obviously you don't have to do that if you don't fancy it. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and repeat this process the whole way around the build. Once you're all finished with that part, we can go ahead and start chopping out where we want our windows to go. On the larger window areas on the left and right hand side of the build, I'm just adding some extra oak logs in, just to kind of fill up a little bit of space. And here's how the build should be looking so far. Moving swiftly on now to the roof, we're going to be going 1 block up and 1 block out from where our framework is. And using some spruce wood stairs, we're going to be building around the edges, leaving 2 gaps on the front of the build, one on the part that sticks out a little bit, and the other above where the doorway is, and we're also going to leave a gap on the left and right hand sides as well. Sorry if that doesn't make much sense, I'll include an overhead view of how it should look shortly. And here's how that should look. As you can see, we've got our gap on the left and the right, and the 2 on the front as well. Time now to start mapping out our roof arches. This part can get a little bit tricky, so take your time. For the largest 2 roof arches on the left and right hand side, the pattern goes as follows: upside down stair, stair, upside down stair, block, stair, upside down stair, block, stair, upside down stair, stair, upside down stair, stair, upside down stair, stair. We're then going to repeat the exact same on the other side and join it together with 2 blocks and an upside down stair. And we'll use that exact same pattern again on the opposite side of the build. Moving on to the smaller roof arch on the front of the build, the pattern for that goes as follows: upside down stair, stair, upside down stair, block, stair, upside down stair, block, stair, upside down stair, stair, and then repeat it on the other side. And of course, got to join it together with 2 blocks and an upside down stair. So for this little section here, we're going to build down from where the roof frame is, down to where the oak logs are. Once again, using our spruce stairs, and we're temporarily just going to connect them together with some spruce slabs. Then of course, building down on the other side too. Then we're going to get rid of all but one of the spruce slabs, so one on each end is going to be left. And then on each side, the block next to that half slab is going to be replaced with a stair. We'll then build up with those stairs until we reach the middle and join them together with 2 blocks and an upside down stair. And here are how all the roof arches look mapped out. Time now to start filling in our roof. For this, I'm using the stripped crimson stem. I've decided to fill in this small part of the front first, just so I don't forget to do it, because I've somehow developed a habit of doing things like that. I'm then just placing down an oak log in each of the corners, and then I'm starting on the main roof arches. I always like to map out where my roof blocks are going to go by placing the block down on all of the upside down stairs and whole blocks in the roof arches. And once that's all done, we can go ahead and fill the whole roof in. Once that's all done, we're going to go ahead and replace just the odd block with some crimson planks. Of course, if you're working in survival mode, this might be easier to do as you're filling the roof in, but because I'm in creative mode, I find it easy enough to do now instead. I like doing this personally because I think it adds a little bit more texture instead of just having one block colour and pattern for your roof. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and add in some green patches. For this, I'm using moss, grass blocks, and flowering azalea leaves and regular azalea leaves. Whenever I do these kind of designs on my builds, I like to concentrate them to the inner corners and to the outer corners, and then spread them out. As you can see, I'm not following any kind of pattern here, I'm just going crazy and just adjusting it until I'm happy. And here's how the roof's looking so far. I think it looks so pretty. Then, as always, to the tops of the roof, we're going to be doing an alternating pattern of spruce planks and spruce half slabs. I absolutely love this step. I think it just finishes off the roof perfectly. Once we're all done with the roof, it's time we make a start on tidying the inside of the build. Firstly, I'm just building those inner corners up until they reach the roof. Then using that same oak log, I'm building all the way around the top of where the wall ends. And using the stripped oak logs, we're just going to build around until we reach where the roof is. Just like we did on the lower half of the build, we're going to replace a couple of blocks on the exposed wall part of the roof arches and also replace any blocks that are facing the wrong way. At the same time, we're also going to chop out our windows. I decided to go for a plus sign shape that I'm going to turn into a flower with some stained glass later, but of course you can do any shape you want. But on this front part, I decided to just go for a 1x3 window instead. Onto filling the windows in now. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using some dark green and magenta stained glass on the top part to make a flower, and just some clear glass on the windows on the bottom layer of the build. And I completely forgot to mention this earlier, but I also added some half slabs to the underside of the roof frame, as well as adding a couple more stairs to the bottom of the roof arch at the front. And here's how we're looking. I think it's really starting to come together now, but now it's time to decorate. Starting over on the left hand side of the build, I'm of course filling these little gaps in with some lanterns and some flowers. Then moving straight on to the window bay, where I'm going to place some leaves in every corner and surround all of those with some stairs. I'm then going to place a block down right in the top centre and add in some decorations, and there you have a heart-shaped window. For the top of the build, we're going to start with some leaves in each of the bottom corners, and we're going to surround those with some stairs. I then went ahead and added in some potted plants. I was feeling fancy today, so instead of sticking to a theme with my flowers, I just kind of went with whatever looked right at the time. And to finish it off, I just added in a lantern and some hanging ferns as well. For this small section here, obviously we're adding in more lanterns and flowers. And for this 3-block gap here, I just decided to do what I usually do for my window bays, but without there actually being a window there. So to the bottom corners, I'm adding in some leaves and joining those together with a half slab, rounding off the top corners with some stairs and adding in a ton of flowers. And here's how this section looks all finished. Moving on to this window at the front, we're going to be doing exactly the same as what we did before and creating a heart-shaped window. I absolutely love doing these, I think they look so cute. And for the top part, again, really similar to what we did earlier, we're going to add some leaves into the corners and round them off with some stairs and finish it all off with some lanterns and some flowers. And I spent ages debating what to do here, so I just kind of went with my foolproof design for when you don't know what to do, and that's just slap a load of leaves and some lanterns in there and hope for the best. Onto the smaller front roof arch, I'm just adding a spore blossom. I've said it a million times, I adore these. Then for the doorway, of course, we're using some stairs and some trapdoors to round off the corners, adding in a lantern and some flowers to either side of the door. For the window just next to that, we're again going to round off the corners with some stairs and some trapdoors. We'll then add some flowering azalea leaves to each bottom corner and join that together with a half slab. Then finally just adding in our flowers. And just a couple more details here and there, like a hanging fern and a rose bush as well. And there's the front section all finished. Lastly, we've just got to work on the decorations on the right hand side. You'll be happy to know that this is exactly the same as on the left hand side. And because it is literally just a copy of the other side, I've sped this footage up, just so this video isn't like a million years long. And there is the completed right hand side. We are so close to being done now, but here I am, just adding a mix of all the flowers that we used while decorating the build and adding them onto the top. To the area surrounding the build, we're going to throw down a load of grass and some tall grass as well. Obviously you don't have to do this, but I really enjoy doing it because I think it gives the outside of the build a sort of overgrown look, which, as many of you know, I absolutely love. And once we're happy with all of the grass, we're going to go ahead and pop down some flowers. For this, I am once again using all of the flowers that I used while decorating the house, just to tie the surrounding area into the build. And finally, I'm just going to add in a little pathway that leads up to the front door. For this, I'm just randomly placing down some path blocks and some coarse dirt as well. And that, my friends, is the build all finished. I love all the vibrant flowers in this build. I really enjoyed making this house, and if you did too, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.